everybody? Welcome to Directly You, episode 104. I am AJ. I'm not Pete, and I'm joined by Parker, not Max or Steve. Was Steve the one that was on? Steve was on last week.
Yeah, Steve was on.
Steve was on last week.
It's true.
Luke Potts people took over because we're at PAX East, but we're back, baby.
Yeah.
Back in the house that needs to get kept. And you know how you do that? By going to youtube.com/fanatixfour or twitch.tv/fanatixfour and paying $4.99 for exclusive emotes. You get loyalty badges, you get gaming time with us, you get free Switch keys from time to time, you get access to our supporters only Discord. You can join our Discord regardless, but if you want to be a supporter and you can talk to freaking Grimhain, and you can talk to Chicago. You can talk to the whole gang about stuff. And we play Smash Brothers sometimes. We're going to play Animal Crossing. People will be visiting our islands and stuff. And it'll be a grand old time. But yeah, like I said, you can join the Discord regardless. It's linked in the description if you don't have any monies or you just don't want to give us money. It's fine.
That's true.
I'm not hurt by that. But yeah. How you doing, Parker? I haven't seen you in years, dude.
Years. It's been one day, and since then it had been a whole 4 days. Man, I'm doing good. It's finally the weekend. Because it's PAX really? And all that stuff. I mean, yeah, sort of. I don't know. Work is done for the week. We'll say that much. I argue that as soon as work's done on Friday, the weekend starts. Mitch vehemently disagrees anytime we talk about it. And also to him, for me, the weekend is 2 days of the weekend. Whereas for him, he treats them like bookends, like the beginning of the week and the end of the week. So Sunday's the first day of the week.
Oh, like
last day of the week. The calendar, like a U.S. calendar shows, whereas a European calendar, fun fact, it starts Monday and Sunday. So it's
the only thing that Europe's right about. You know what I mean?
But I'm glad to, because this week's just been crazy getting back from PAX and all that. But I'm doing good. Yourself?
I'm doing good. I don't feel like it's the weekend because I never do. But like, I felt the opposite of you. Like it was like getting back from PAX was a relief. It was like, okay, I got way less stuff on my plate. My videos are way easier to make. So my life is on relatively free this week. But next week seems like it's gonna suck because I don't know what I want to make a video about for sure yet.
True.
Can't be ahead.
I don't know.
I'm behind.
For what it's worth, I mean, this isn't podcast talk, but if you want to, I was even thinking about maybe we switch days for next week so we could talk about that and see. Just since I already know what it is, and then for various other reasons, if it ends up whatever.
Well, sure, yeah, since you're doing the PAX thing or whatever, maybe that makes sense.
Well, I don't even know if I'm going to do, I don't know, maybe I'll do the PAX thing, but maybe not, because I might do the other thing I mentioned in things in the message earlier. So we'll just see, you know what I'm saying? We'll see what happens. But yeah, are you playing any games?
I am. I'm playing the Pokemans, dude.
Nice.
Pokemon
Tell me more.
Mystery Dungeon, and I kept my save from the demo, so I'm still Eevee, and I played this game on DS and the original game.
That was the blue version?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And I had the red one too, but like I didn't play that because like why would I? Because
hey, it's a dumb color. So there you go.
I mean, true.
But also true. It's the game.
But mostly because like I don't even know why I had it. The DS was the new thing, and you know.
Yeah.
So I was wondering, like, why I didn't remember a lot of the stuff from this, and now I remember because I was thinking just earlier because I freaking downloaded the game like at midnight or whatever, and I was like, why did I guess stop playing this game? And now I know because you had to beat the game to evolve your Pokemon, and I was like, that's stupid. And I stopped playing it, but now I'm like, whatever. Now I'm playing through it. I'm like bronze rank. I'm almost to silver rank with the like your freaking crew or whatever.
I don't even know what that means. What does that mean?
So when you do missions, you get you level up your team, your freaking
cool,
you know, your guys, man. Not like your Pokemon level, but your mystery dungeon teams level, and that like determines how much experience, I mean, not experience, but how much missions you could take on at once, how many people you can recruit all at once in the, like, when you're
Is that pretty tied to where you are in the game? Like, could somebody be at the same spot as you and be way different? I assume they'd be at least within a margin of error.
Because the like the missions, at least as far as where I'm at, I got to Zapdos, who's like the first boss sort of thing, where it's like you played the demo, right?
Nope.
Oh, well, there's the demo, and it has a whole bunch of boxes and question marks. And the first question mark out of that, like, I don't know, like 20 boxes is Zapdos. That's where I'm at. Okay. So, like, at least where I'm at right now, the only time that you get experience for your team is when you beat missions that aren't story related. So, like, you can just grind out missions without doing the story stuff.
Gotcha.
I'd assume you'd be like gold rank before you even like really do that much story stuff.
Does that level up your Pokemon as well?
No, leveling up your Pokemon is separate. So like you level up your Pokemon through like experience that you get through battling, and also well, just battling, because there's like, you can go to the dojo, which is like a cheat code kind of version of going through a dungeon, because like there's Pokemon that are like significantly more powerful than you are, but they pretty much just get one-shotted, and they're all like going to be weak to your Pokemon's type. But the thing about that is like you have to earn tickets or find tickets to enter the dojo, so you can like power level your Pokemon. So like you can do it that way, or you can just do it through like exploring the different dungeons and leveling up through, you know, traversal and beating your enemies and stuff. So as far as that goes, I'm on like level like 22 or something. And that's what made me think. I was like, wait, my Charmander is way higher than he needs to be a Charmeleon, and he didn't even try to evolve. But you had to get like evolution gems or some crap like that to evolve him, and to do that you have to beat the main story, at least from that's what the Google told me. So no Charmeleon for me for however many hours this story is. But I'm enjoying it. I like it. It's a good change of pace from Smash Brothers, because Smash Brothers I have to like pay attention and, you know, be good. But this game I can just like chill out and do other stuff, man.
True. During the story dialogue bits, do you pay much attention during that, or kind of just click through it? Or?
I mean that's pretty much the main reason to play it. I think it's like to get through the story, because like everything else is just like, you know, it's not really like super challenging gameplay. It's not even like the RPG like min-maxing sort of situation, which you can do that a little bit, but it's not like deep enough to like for that to be the driving force for why you play the game.
Right. Yeah.
So yeah, it's like the story is cool.
Nice.
I was always like, I don't know why I don't remember anything about this game, but that whole evolution thing, that's why I rage quit and never played it again. But now I'll know why I'm a Pokemon now.
It's fun to understand or to remember. I mean, that's like the whole, we talked about this 2 weeks ago when we were on the podcast, but like why, when I figured out the white and green had been my favorite colors because of Power Rangers, like realizing like, and same goes. So I broke my arm. This is similar kind of thing, but very tangential at the same time. When I was in 7th grade, I broke my arm twice and dislocated it both times and had to get surgery. And so they put a screw in my arm, which is what it is because they had to do it. And I, for the longest time, was like, yeah, they put a screw in my arm, and like because they did it wrong, my arm doesn't straighten out all the way now, which that part is true. It only, if you're watching the video, you can't, well, I got a hoodie on, you can't see, but it doesn't straighten out all the way. It's like, I don't know, instead of whatever 180 degrees, it's probably like 160 or something like that. So, but my mom the whole time was like, no, it doesn't straighten out all the way because you didn't do your exercises. And I was like, that doesn't sound right. I remember doing them. And then one day, like several years later, I was like, yeah, it doesn't straighten out all the way because blah, blah, blah. And she's like, no, you didn't do your exercises because you thought it would be cool to have an arm that didn't straighten out all the way. And I was like, oh, Yep, that's it. That's the one.
Why did you think that?
Because I was in 7th grade, and like, here's the thing. Let me tell you this.
I don't accept that as an answer. If your answer was because I was 7, then I'm like, okay, I can see a 7-year-old saying that. But being in 7th grade and being like, it would be cool if my arm doesn't work right.
Here's the thing. I didn't even say because I was just or I did say because I was in 7th grade, but rather because I was me in 7th grade. And let me tell you this. To this day, my arm is not straightened out all the way, since it has not prohibited me from doing anything. And I'll tell you, I was right. It is kind of cool. Cool. It's not cool so much as the fact that it's like, it's a fun story to tell. So it's, that kind of thing. If it had stopped me from doing literally anything, then like that kind of sucks. But otherwise it's like, meh, whatever. But I really did want at the time for that screw to make this. I'm very glad about that. I was wrong. I wanted it to make metal detectors go off so that people would be like, what's going on? And then they'd, have to beep it. But yeah, I'm very glad. That would be such a pain to every time. Like, beep,
Yeah, I would have abandoned you in PAX. So I'm like, well, gotta go.
Gotta go. Man alive. Well, I'm glad you're liking Pokemon Mystery Dungeon. How many hours so far are you into it?
6.
Gotcha. So you've been playing it pretty much all day.
Yeah.
Nice.
I usually try to do that on the Friday of us recording the podcast, so I have something to talk about for the video game segment,
Does the 6 hours include the demo time that you spent as well?
I don't know. I just pressed save and it told me I'm 6 hours in, so
who's to say? I haven't really been playing anything this week. We were on the Loop Pats last night, so there's actually some
Loop Pats.
I know. I don't know why I said that. But whatever. We were on the POTS cast, and so there's probably some stuff that we're not going to really get into as much here, just because I don't really feel like having the same conversation beats again. So listen to that. It was a fun old time. It was the two of us and Pete, and Pete's been on here before.
No, he hasn't.
Where the bit is that he's never been on here, but
canon.
Et cetera, et cetera. But people know him in any case. But I was mentioning on there, I haven't been playing pretty much anything other than all the stuff that we played at PAX, which we'll get into a little bit later when we talk about PAX. But yeah, we went there. It was an event. It was a video games event. And you know what? That's the last video games event that's ever going to happen, because everything's getting canceled. GDC's done, and maybe E3 is dead too. Let's talk about it.
That's a different show. But it's not the last one, because Gamescom is still happening, dude.
That's true.
And Nintendo is going to that.
Nintendo is going to that.
I feel like if they don't, and we mentioned this a little bit on the podcast, but I feel like if E3 gets canceled, E3's canceled for forever. I don't think there's no recovering from that, because they were already on the way out.
My real guess is so if it just straight up doesn't happen this year. So, and to fill people in, I think everybody knows, but it's because of the coronavirus stuff. A lot of things are just in jeopardy and not wanting to happen, just to play it safe, which is good. But yeah, that means theoretically E3 could not happen because of that. And then my guess is that they would try it again next year, try to bring it back, and then it would go probably terribly next year. A bunch of companies don't go to it because they figured out some alternative thing. And that's it,
And that's the thing that I'm curious about. We didn't really go too deep into this when this idea was brought up, but do you really think that E3 and the way that it exists and it being run by the ESA and all this stuff is the only way that we have this week of games where everybody's announcing stuff and blah blah blah? Because honestly, I don't. I feel like the fact that so many people it's the gaming Super Bowl. I think just having that cachet is enough for every developer to be like, yeah, okay, we're down. We're all going to announce stuff during this week, regardless of if the ESA is involved or not, or if we're at this physical location or not, or if it's branded as E3 or not.
Yeah.
But I don't know. What are your thoughts?
I think it's hard to. I think what would probably happen, my guess, is most of the companies would keep doing it. Some would feel kind of maybe let off the hook
So you mean like PlayStation's going
to, yeah, maybe, or like companies where it's like, man, we just like couldn't be ready in time for that week, but we can do it a couple weeks later, you know, maybe some of that stuff. But I think also there would be some other companies that wouldn't have been able to afford going to E3 and having the presence there that, you know, Bethesda does or Square Enix does or whatever, and probably show up in a way that they couldn't have. That right now they only have maybe like a booth, but don't have an actual presentation in the same way. More like along the Devolver Digital type lines, where they actually do manage to have a presentation, but I think there might be some other publishers or whatever that would manage to do that.
Yeah, and I mean, I think that the presentation is like the cheapest part.
Honestly,
which is like. The reason why I think that they're definitely going to be like, okay, yeah, no, if they see a return on their investment and the same amount of like hype and all that stuff garnered from them just doing like a Nintendo Direct style thing, if everybody does that and they're like, oh no, okay, this is just the same or even better, why give E3 millions of dollars or the ESA millions of dollars to do this?
Yep. What I wouldn't want to see this year specifically is that they try to postpone E3, because that'll kind of like mess some stuff up where some companies are like, no, we're banking on you like it'll split it up and be sort of weird at that point. But if they manage
like that's like around like earnings calls and like all that stuff.
Yeah. So it feels kind of all or nothing. Like either they cancel it and then I'd be interested to see which companies actually still do presentations of sorts. And, you know, like obviously putting together direct type videos takes time and isn't like super easy, but at the same time, it's, especially when it's all your own published stuff. Like it's probably the hardest for Nintendo and maybe Xbox and probably, honestly, I don't know. Probably for those, because they're having presentations for a platform, not just for a publisher. Yeah. Whereas like Bethesda, it's just all Bethesda games. So like they can pressure those teams internally to be like, you have to give us something for right now, you know? Or I guess, I don't really know.
I mean, I don't know. I think that's probably like, that's tiered. It's like, I feel like the hardest that has it in that regard is Sony, because like they don't have, their teams don't have as quick of a turnaround as like Xbox and Nintendo's teams do. They in
terms of like game development,
like they let their teams like simmer, and like they're like on like 2 to 3 year cycles, where it's like they'll go 2 years without any big first party stuff, and then like now they're literally releasing like 4 of their big games that they've been teasing for a while within the span of like 3 months.
Yep.
So
the one thing I'm curious about though too with E3 for this year, considering Sony and Xbox as well, is I don't know that they would have, and you'd probably know better than me, whether they'd bring hardware like PS5 and Xbox Series X to E3 this year for just behind closed doors things for people.
I think it depends on the timing, because like they don't really, especially now, they don't really like reveal hardware at E3. They do their own thing, and then they'll bring it to E3 to be like, oh yeah, and here's the games for that hardware that we showed off or whatever, right? So if they go along those lines, and then they have their reveals around like May, and then in June they're like, and here's some more games that we didn't talk about before, or here's more details on the games that we did talk about. At E3, and that, and as far as like if they announce the games and stuff like that, they're definitely going to have like behind closed door at the very least. I would assume that they have a couple like public demos and stuff like that, assuming E3 happens. But at the very least, they'll have behind closed doors stuff.
Yep. Here's a question. So imagining the scenario that E3 doesn't happen as an event. And again, like, I mean, we did say too on yesterday on the podcast that like it would suck a little bit for just people not getting to try out demos or getting some impressions of things. But probably some of that would happen anyway. Not the like public getting to try out demos, but industry people getting to try out some kind of behind closed doors stuff. Like before Xenoblade Chronicles 2 came out, I remember Game Explain had a video up where Demetrius from the Treehouse just came over to someone, I think Derek's house or one of the Game Explain guys' place, and it was like, let's play the game together. So like that, obviously, that kind of thing would still happen.
Yeah.
In important places.
And I don't know. I think that if they wanted to, they could, because Nintendo usually does like Best Buy stuff anyway. So like if they really wanted the public to get their hands on it,
yeah,
they could do the whole Best Buy promotion regardless of if E3 happens or not.
Indeed.
And I definitely think that as far as like press is concerned, that doesn't really matter, because like they have like outside demo events for E3 stuff, even when E3 is a thing that happens without a hitch, right? Like they do like an East Coast thing of like, okay, well, maybe you couldn't make it out to E3, come to New York and you can demo the games that we tried and that we played out there or whatever. So
here's the question:
be a lot of that.
If it happens that it gets canceled or whatever, but companies do get together still to be like, all right, this is the week we're going to set up these time slots so we're not overlapping, so that we're kind of helping each other out some. How many companies, A, and B, which companies do you feel like are the ones that, not even just for us individually, because for me, I mean, to be honest, it could just be just another Nintendo Direct and like none of the others show up and like I'd be pretty much fine.
Yeah, I mean that's honestly how I feel too, but I do like the whole thing of like announcements back to back to back, because like just as somebody that owns all the consoles, and the whole thing of it for me is not even necessarily of like I know I'm going to play X amount of games on this thing. It's just I buy it in hopes that they win me over. So like I still watch those presentations hoping that there's a Spider-Man, it'd be like, oh, that's dope, I'm playing that. So like just for that reason, it'd be cool if just everybody, if nothing changed except for the ESA.
So which companies are the essentials and the non-essentials for you to still show up at that point? Because like not every company is showing up every single year anyway, but like
I don't think, honestly, I don't think any of the third parties are essential. If I had to say a third party that like, if it was like, okay, you could have one third party, maybe Ubisoft, because I think Ubisoft is like the one that usually comes up to make up for other like first parties that may be lacking that year, where it's like, oh well, at least Ubisoft had that one big game or whatever, right? So I guess that them, and then like the three like big guys, even though I think Sony's like the least likely to play ball. But I don't know, they did the whole the Game Awards thing where it's like, yeah man, gamers is about being friends, man, we're all friends, and then they kissed on stage. You remember that?
Oh yeah, so you mean the one 2 years ago with like Sean Layden, which is hilarious because Sean Layden and Reggie are both gone now, so it's just Phil, and like they were like, all right, we're gonna do this, get some clout before we leave, like we're out of here, which is really funny. But yeah, I don't know.
I think that I think that it's I'm like 50-50 on whether or not like they all play ball, but I I don't see a reason. I think that it would hurt them more, at least in the short term, to not do like a unified thing. Yeah, because I think it makes everybody more hyped for stuff that they wouldn't have been hyped for otherwise. Like we wouldn't watch just like on a regular basis or whatever. It'd be like, oh, the new Xbox Inside Xbox stream. We're not going to watch that.
Or even like Bethesda
E3,
or something. Yeah, I watched Bethesda's E3 presentation. I was like, I don't care about really any of these games. Like there were a couple that I was like, that's cool, I'm not going to play it, but it's cool, but for the most part I was like, I don't really care. So if they were just like, we're going to do a Bethesda press conference or Bethesda presentation, unless I knew ahead of time like that something was going to be there that was kind of more tailored to me, I wouldn't watch. But during the E3 week, like that's when a lot of people come together and are like, I'm going to make specific time to watch this thing, or like take a week off or whatever to watch all the presentations.
Yeah, it's like it's just a thing of like, even if you're not a super fan of one particular like studio or publisher or OEM or whatever, you're gonna watch it because it's hype.
It's true. Yeah. So yeah, I'll be curious what happens with E3. I think there's a good chance at this point that maybe all this will kind of have not blown over completely, but at least be more manageable within 3 months. But 3 months also, I feel like is kind of the breaking point where like, if it were 6 months out, I think we'd be fine. But 3 months, like,
yeah, but also it's not 3 months, because like for us to watch it, yes, it's 3 months, but they still have to plan all this stuff out. So they have to decide now if they're like, okay, like, do we pull out or not?
Yeah, that's true. But they are going to Gamescom, so that's one of the things here. Here's an article. It says, similar to previous years, Nintendo will be attending Gamescom 2020. The company's presence was confirmed by the show's official Twitter account a short while ago. Other publishers attending Gamescom include Bandai Namco, Bethesda, Capcom, Sega, THQ Nordic, and Ubisoft. Gamescom 2020 will take place between August 25th and August 29th at Kölnmesse in Cologne, Germany.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Yeah, I've been to Cologne, so that's fun. It's pretty.
I have Cologne.
Lucky. Yeah, there it is, Gamescom. I don't know. Last year, pretty much nothing big was announced at Gamescom. It was like
I think Gamescom is usually just their victory lap for E3.
Yeah, that's what it feels like. And like getting to do a little more Treehouse. So that's cool. Like, oh, okay, I wanted to see more about this game. Now they're showing more of this game off.
The last Gamescom that I remember is the one where they brought Super Mario Party. That's the last one I remember. I was like, yeah, man, they showed more of that game. I'm interested.
Yeah, honestly, last year, what would they?
I don't even know.
I don't think they showed more Link's Awakening. I think they showed more Daemon X Machina for sure. I remember that. And then they
and there was like a games. Pokemon Let's Go thing. I remember now. They did like not Pokemon. No. Wait, that was the year before that.
That was 2 years ago. Yeah, I don't even know if they brought Pokemon Sword and Shield this past year.
I don't remember last year's Gamescom.
Yeah, I literally remember just like Daemon X Machina.
Everything.
Even Daemon X Machina was from 2 years ago.
Oh my god! Did they even come to Gamescom 2019? I don't remember anything. From
no clue. Gamescom. Yeah. They had a bunch of indie games because I remember Baba Is You being there, and that one was definitely.
They probably had like freaking Cuphead.
I guess Cuphead was like when
Gamescom 2019, Nintendo, Astro Chain.
Okay, yeah.
This is a different.
Maybe Link's Awakening was there, but I don't remember. I don't feel like it was.
Nintendo announces Gamescom 2019 lineup. Link's Awakening, Luigi's Mansion 3, Astro Chain.
Those are the playable ones.
Dragon Quest.
I don't know that they had Treehouse stuff for it, but in any case, I mean, it's like it feels like a bigger PAX kind of Gamescom does, where it's like it's not a ton of announcements, but it's a lot of like demo time and like time to meet, that kind of thing. So that's cool. But from this side of the ocean, I don't know that there's a ton to get excited about for that, but also possibly there is. So we'll find out.
Who knows? We still don't know what they're doing for the January Direct. Still don't know.
Man alive. Yep. We still don't. But we do know what Miyamoto thinks about just so many things now. He had a Famitsu column and specifically talked about Mario in one of them. And we've got like 3 articles talking about some of these things. So I'm going to pull those up and then we'll read through some of this stuff. And we're going to have such a good time.
This is going to be great, dude.
Look at him with that cake in that one picture. Look at that. Here, let me share my screen.
Do this screen.
Share this screen. Cool. All right. If you're watching on Google, on YouTube. If you're watching on Google, look at him with that cake.
Look at the cake.
I want to eat it. Okay.
Is Mario on that cake more than once?
Mario.
Because he's on the flagpole.
No, I don't see him anywhere else. I mean, not that he isn't necessarily. Is that him right there? I don't think so.
I thought that was him for a second, but nah.
I don't know. So he had an interview and some people translated it. So now we're going to read what they translated. It's just a bunch of bullet points. So we'll kind of just take a break and talk about things we want to. He said, when it comes to Mario and making games related to Mario, I'm always looking for some kind of timeout. What in the world?
I don't know. What
does that even mean? Some kind of timing. Yeah, cool. And then he was asked, are you the only one who can decide Mario's areas of activity? I did when no one else would decide, and eventually ended up being that way after a few times. Well, let's just say I have the right to say nope, and then they laughed. Cool.
So basically, Nintendo's relationship with Game Freak.
Yeah, pretty much.
For Pokemon, anyway.
Yeah. I've been keeping a close eye on Super Mario Run. No one else can decide just how far we can take Mario on mobile. That's an interesting
Are they still doing Mario Run stuff? Like, does that game still get updates?
I don't think it still gets updates, but I know that my wife's nanny kids play it quite a bit. So there's that.
Interesting.
Yeah, still getting played. Mario's qualities are about peace of mind, and there's a sense not so different from this within the company, so much that it makes me want to change it for being too strict.
Whoever translated this didn't do a great job. I'm sorry.
It feels like they translated it literally,
it
word
was
for word.
Very literal, yeah.
Yeah. And so peace of mind thing comes back up a couple of times. But the standard sense of Mario is that he won't murder someone, but isn't good enough to not smash bugs. This is engraved into everyone's mind. Some worried about the mischievous Mario in Smash Bros, but after giving it a cute sound when he gets punched, they say, this is fine.
I don't agree with that. He murders people all the time. He literally threw Bowser into lava several times, dude.
It is funny, like, just in general, the fact that we use the word kill, like, I'm going to kill those Goomba, is like, well, that feels, like, that's pretty strong. But
I mean, what else happens when you propel
that's 100% what it is.
On top of somebody's skull.
And they disappear from the ether.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, it's just funny because, like, I don't know. What am I trying to say? It's just a thing.
Mm-hmm.
Nintendo, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Moving along, where were we? If I were to express Nintendo's qualities in words, then it is also peace of mind. There's a peace of mind when looking at it as a parent, and you can have it in your living room. We've put great effort into creating something that can be the center of family amusement.
All right, so I think the last literal translation of this is basically him being like, parents trust Nintendo.
Yeah, pretty much. I started thinking that way around the Wii. Around the time of the Nintendo 64, we looked at other companies' hardware and began thinking that our best strength was our interface. I like Apple. They do a good job of setting limitations while respecting user-friendliness for the customers. There was a time when Nintendo was called childish, but after continuous work on our priorities, the efforts began to show around the Wii that gave us the image of peace of mind. And then the last bit, what really makes something Nintendo to us comes from truly thinking about the customers. It's not about the market or the current trends.
So I think that part around the Wii is interesting because I feel like the Wii is probably where like the gamers, like that's when like that crowd started really thinking like, oh yeah, Nintendo's childish. They make Wii Sports and that's the game. But like, it's kind of the opposite of that, really, because it's like when the Wii came out, that's when grandmas were buying Nintendos for themselves, dude. So it was like, yeah, and I think like every time I hear that about literally anything, like we get like there was a comment on my Animal Crossing video.
Oh, I saw that one. Yeah,
that was like this game is for kids or something like that, and I'm like, the only thing I can hear, like,
yeah,
I know
the only people that would play this game is girls and babies.
Yeah.
I think was one of them. I was like, okay.
I think the only type of person that says something like that are children or people that are very immature. Like the first thing that comes to mind, I always read those comments and the voice of like, what commercial is this? Like Subway or something? Where it's like, that's for babies, like that. You know what I'm talking about?
I don't, but I can guess.
Look it up. Somebody look it up and type in "that's for babies" commercial, and I'm sure it will pop up. But it's like this little kid that's like, the mom's like, "Hey, you want whatever? Like, you want a freaking water gun?" And the baby's, I mean, the kid's like this kid is like 7, if that, and it's like that's for babies, and it's like, yeah, that's the attitude that a lot of kids have, where it's like they see Call of Duty and like they're like, nah, that's an adult game.
Yeah,
Mario, that's for babies. Though it's like, yeah.
I remember when I was like 11, and very quickly my vernacular changed when I was hanging out with my friends from, Parker, are you going to go play with Billy Bob, to you're going to go hang out with Billy Bob? But my parents kept saying like, oh, you're going to go play with Austin. And I was like, it's not playing, it's hanging out. Like, I was very determined that was not the right verbiage. But yeah, it was, and it's a thing of like looking down upon whatever you used to do and being like, that's for babies. That's for
me when I was a baby.
Yeah.
And that was a last year thing. Now I'm 12.
So yeah, that's a funny thing. And it's funny that was around the Wii, apparently, that they started to think that, because like, I mean, the GameCube makes sense. Like the GameCube in retrospect is very much, you could tell they were trying to target the same audiences other people. And I guess at the N64 time, like most games were just kind of, you know, all ages sort of a thing.
Yeah.
Just by default. So yeah, I guess makes sense. And then this next bit has some interesting things in it. So this is just more in general, not just about Mario, but here we go. On gameplay streaming, I think it's good. I think it is good that there are many ways to enjoy things. In this era, we can present videos to a broader audience, and I'm sure there are many who watch and find interest in those games. I would probably watch gameplay walkthroughs for games made by others. Although, honestly, I don't want people to watch my stuff. It's okay if it's made. It's okay if it's for stuff made by others, though.
I don't get it. What does he mean?
I think he means in the sense of like he wouldn't want to stream something because like.
Oh, okay. I thought he was saying he doesn't want people to watch his games.
I don't think so. But I mean, my impression of it is
it wouldn't surprise me.
I mean, you're right. If anybody to say that.
But then again, I mean, like their current, you know, like mindset on it doesn't seem to be that anymore. So.
Yep. So yeah, but that's good at least that he appreciates that there's a market for that kind of thing. Lately, I've been playing a lot of Pokemon Go. Cool. Good job getting that exercise. We've reached a point that makes it possible to experience movies and games on similar platforms. I've started thinking that it's better for Nintendo to have motion pictures. It would be better for Mario to have a movie in this era.
Yeah,
if you make
they didn't translate this well.
I know, because better feels like
yeah, it sounds like a relative thing. Like I think Mario needs to get out of video games,
right, and do movies instead. Where it's like, no, I think it would be better if Mario had movies in addition to video games. Like, is probably what he's trying to say, but it doesn't sound like that. So, yeah, whatever. But yeah, and then he goes on. If you make something for the sake of selling it, oh yeah. So that was the movie thing. We agree. Mario should have movies. He's gonna have a movie.
Yes.
Cool.
All right, what do you think? You think the Mario movie is going to be in the ranking with Detective Pikachu and Sonic? We're putting it on wax now. Is it going to be 1, 2, or 3? Like, what's it going to be? Because right now, I think that it's unanimous amongst us that it's Detective Pikachu, and then like a distant second is Sonic.
For me, it's not as distant. I mean, as far as just like movie enjoyment goes, but as far as like true to the source material, I don't even know for Sonic. I just can only take your word for it. So like,
oh yeah, you said you haven't played.
Yeah, right, exactly. So I'm like, yeah, sure, that is what it is. But Detective Pikachu is definitely, it is way better. Yeah, I bet Mario.
I think Detective Pikachu is by far better than Sonic.
I would agree with that, but it's not because I think Sonic's bad. It's just because I thought.
I don't think Sonic's bad. I think Sonic's a decent movie. I think it's a bad Sonic movie. I think that if Sonic wasn't in it, it would.
I just don't even have that caveat to be able to give.
Yeah, like I think that if Sonic wasn't in it, it would still be a good movie, and I think that it's a good movie, but it's not good at doing what it's trying to do in the sense that it's a video game movie,
right? Or as Bob would say, it's good. It's good.
exactly. But no, because like usually when Bob says that, he's like trying to downplay it. I'm not trying to downplay Sonic. Yeah. I'm just saying I think that it's not. It doesn't even really try to be a movie about like the world of Sonic.
My honest guess, and I bet Mario is going to be between the two, closer, like exactly halfway between the two, like not quite close to Detective Pikachu. Yeah. And some people would argue that Detective Pikachu isn't even that great. But
I mean, I think in a vacuum, it's also not like if we're talking about, if we're like judging this against like Pixar movies or whatever, right?
Yeah,
like they're not as good as that. But I think that for what they're setting out to be, I think Detective Pikachu does a better job as far as like, you know, because even though like it's
world building, Sonic, consistency,
yeah, exactly. Kind of even though like it's obvious that Sonic's not necessarily trying to do that, you know, like being consistent with the video game world and kind of building its own world, it is clear that it's trying to be like the best video game movie or whatever, right? And it's not really. It's a video game movie in the sense that like Wreck-It Ralph is a video game movie. It's kind of more along those lines than where Detective Pikachu is literally like an adaptation of a game that's on 3DS.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, I don't know. I think it's not going to be like till 2022 or something.
Yeah, I think Mario is probably going to be somewhere in the middle of the two.
I think so too. If it were all the way at the top, that'd be dope. But
that would be dope. I think Mario would it's going to be more of a Mario movie. It's not going to be like Sonic because Miyamoto is involved. So like it's going to be like entrenched in that world. I don't know the potential that Mario has to tell a good plot, you know?
Right. And I mean, Mario also is more consistent as far as just canon and stuff like that than yes, right. But even within just like storytelling stuff, like there's not much storytelling in Mario, whereas Sonic sometimes tries and sometimes doesn't, I guess.
I feel like Sonic kind of always tries. I think Sonic doesn't do well all the time, right? But like that was like kind of Sonic's, especially like in like Sonic 3, like environmental storytelling and just direct storytelling, but you know, like without voice acting or dialogue. It would just, you know, like you're watching the screen and you're like, oh, Knuckles took the Chaos Emeralds and he ran away, and it's like the levels flow in between each other and stuff like that. So like, yeah, I think Sonic definitely has like and today, right? They try to tell these like edgy stories. It's like, man, Sonic, he was like freaking fell in love with this girl and he told a rock star, and so
it's true. Mario movie, let's see what you got. Continuing on with all this stuff, I stopped sharing my screen because we were talking about other stuff. He goes on to say, if you make something for the sake of selling it, then it'll have all kinds of failures. The most important thing is to make something you believe is fun rather than something that would sell. If you try making something that sells, it eventually ends up becoming like something else that's already out there. If you make what looks like something that might already be out there, then it won't sell well. That's why Nintendo makes things that have yet to be seen. Interesting stuff. But I mean, I think
it makes sense.
It does, yeah.
I don't think it's necessarily always true, because there's been like instances of companies that literally are like, this game is to beat out, like Sonic is a good example of that, where it's like it was made to compete and pretty much solely to compete, and it did well, and it eventually became its own thing.
Yeah, but then I think there are instances where you can piggyback off somebody else's success and do well, but I think it's also just more fun and more interesting to do just plain old
your own thing. Yeah, definitely. You know, I think it's a lot easier to fall flat if you're copying somebody else, but I won't necessarily agree that like universally, if you're copying somebody else, you're not going to succeed.
Yeah, for sure. And then the last bits on this one is I've been thinking about expanding on our characters, not just in games, but in various scenes. We're working with various companies. And then says, I hope we can continue doing new things without going on the defensive.
We're getting a Star Tropics board game, guys. Yeah. It's going to be freaking lit.
So there you go. There was what he had to say on that things. We've got more things that he said. Here's another one. This was on the Switch being successful, blah, 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 blah. He says, the Switch released with good timing in this age where people are walking around and using devices like smartphones, and yet they get loaded up with a lot of data. So for this reason, we thought it should be relatively easy for a single console with a single technological architecture to succeed given the situation. For mobile gaming, there are many different hardware versions that all have to be accounted for, so you don't know what else is going to come along with it all. And then he said there's also the fear of malware getting in there. In that sense, I really like Apple. It's not very prominent, but they're very good at regulating things and valuing their customers' usability. Does he mean malware's not very prominent or Apple's not very prominent?
Probably both, depending on what he's referring to. Because like if he means like their computers, like relative, they're not very prominent.
Yeah, right.
Like what?
But I mean, he's talking about smartphones. Less than
10% of the market. Yeah. I mean, even in that regard, like compared to Android, they have like 25% or something like that.
Yeah, I guess so.
The market.
Yeah, but which I mean is true, but also seems like a weird comparison only because Android also encompasses like a ton of other companies or whatever. Whereas, I mean, that would be like comparing Nintendo software versus every other company's software, which is like,
I mean, but they do. Like, I mean, when you compare Windows to Mac OS, the comparison is that Mac OS is like much smaller, and it's also for that same reason. Whereas, like, they have multiple manufacturers.
Dell, HP, Windows,
whatever, computers and stuff like that. And it's like, if it was apples to apples, they would be one of, if not the biggest, like single manufacturer, but there's so many other guys making stuff. As far as like computers go, I think Samsung might still be bigger in terms of like the amount of phones that they ship per year or whatever.
It is, man. Apple and Nintendo really are very similar in
because
in
Apple
so many ways.
I mean, because Nintendo wants Apple so bad.
I mean, because like they're both hardware manufacturers first and foremost, but do a lot of their own software and then have third-party software that they license or that they get. But then it's interesting.
I don't even know if I would say first and foremost. I think that they weigh their software and their hardware equally. Like they really feel like one cannot exist without the other.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, yeah. I agree.
Yes.
And so on. And then the last bits that he talked about. Thanks, Miyamoto, for being a dude who
and talking
fun
about
things.
Stuff.
At first, that sounded like I was thanking him for being a dude, which is not the case. I just was saying words. Okay, so this is. You get very in our excerpts below, Miyamoto talks about what exactly he's involved in during the development process, blah blah blah. Miyamoto, I have influence over a game's controls. I worked very thoroughly with the staff on the user friendliness and player sense aspects. This happened on the Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild too. I'm also involved in the concept stages.
I think it's important to say, because The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild 2 sounds like the sequel, but he's talking about the original game.
You're very right. Yeah, 2 is in TOO.
Yes.
So this happened also on The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. I'm also involved in the concept stages, but everything else is up to them. Each of our designers have their own ideas and such, so it'd be a never-ending task for me if I were to venture down that path. The feel of the game is the foundation of everything that's been made so far in the process. So I tell the staff outright if it doesn't feel good to play, although I leave everything up to them afterwards. There isn't any kind of gap between the developers and me, so they know they can always reach out and I'll help them with things. And then on his development on the back end of development versus the front end, Miyamoto said, my main focus is on the first 30 minutes when dealing with which target audience the game is intended for. After we nailed down the game feel, it moves on to the level design processes. My job is already done. When I'm directly involved as the producer, I do get involved in those steps and check things out, fix stuff and such. But after that, it's bye-bye now. Good luck. And then on his old days of upending the tea table, which means to flip the table and start from scratch halfway through development. It's the context. So for this, he says, I might say something in the early stages of development, like, what if we didn't do this? Or if you're going to do that, then what about this? But I no longer come in mid-development to completely rework things. I don't upend the tea table just as a hobby or something. I only do it so if I can see the whole, I only do so if I can see how the whole game will pan out. By changing the structure of things when a game isn't turning out right, I upend the tea table. When I can see how things like the visuals and the merits of the game can change. If I can't see a clear vision for the game, then that doesn't mean something should be changed. After all, you can't see all the key components unless you're the director. And there it is. There it is. What do you think?
I think Miyamoto is a smart man, but also it's a good thing that he doesn't upend the tea table, as it were, anymore, because I think the later examples of him doing that didn't really turn out that great.
Yeah.
Like the Star Fox stuff where everybody's real upset about Dinosaur Planet and all that, even though honestly I like that game, but I don't know. Everybody's like, I want the freaking arcade game. I want to spend $60 for Star Fox 64 again.
Yep. Yeah, I wonder too, because I don't know anything about game development, but I wonder how, I don't know, dated his, just having been doing it for so long, how dated his impression of certain things would be, or if with that kind of thing, more experience really just still is, coming to it fresh every time. But I'd have a suspicion that probably, if he were too nitty gritty involved with stuff, that a lot of things would feel kind of more antiquated than they need to. And so I think having younger people on teams and stuff like that ends up
I
helping.
I think it depends on the person.
Not in the ways I think
like,
the ways he was talking about that too.
Like,
yeah.
If you look at like what is this man's name? Kojima. If you look at Kojima, like I think a lot of his sensibilities are like pretty up to date, you know, like other than Death Stranding,
right?
But like Metal Gear Solid, like Phantom Pain and stuff like that. Like that felt like a modern game, you know. And he's still like pushing the envelope forward, even with Death Stranding. So like if you're like ingrained in it and you're like looking at all the advancements and you're still playing everything that everybody else is making and you're paying attention to that stuff, I think that it's pretty easy to like stay up to date and even continue to innovate. I think the problem with Miyamoto is that he very much so seems like the walled garden sort of person where he's like, that's not a Nintendo, I'm not playing this.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I mean, I wonder, and I think the fact that he's kind of working in the way that he is, where he's helping to supervise and like, you know, feel stuff out and play the first 30 minutes of the game, just see how it feels that seems like a good way to go about it, where at least he also is kind of passing the torch along and letting other people do stuff. So
yeah,
I'll be curious. Yeah, I also just want to see the Mario movie now because he's working on that. So yeah, there you go. And the last news bit we have is just PAX. We went to PAX.
We did go to PAX.
And there we go. We talked about it a good bit on the podcast, so we don't have to get like super into it.
We didn't talk about food. We ate food. It was okay. I'm still mad that I spent freaking $30 on 6 chicken tenders for the both of us. Like combined, convention food is a racket, dude, and they need to be.
That's why I didn't get lunch there any of the other days. Like I was just like, I'm not doing this because it just seemed like so much money for not.
It's real dumb. But other than that, the other places, like we went to this like fancy food court place. It's like a food court for millennials.
It honestly was. And it was funny because it was playing everywhere we went was definitely for millennials. Playing like
just music from 2004 to like 2007.
Hey yeah by Usher, like anything and everything that you'd be like, that would be a nostalgic song for most people. They got it. They right in the feels. I think All Star played at some point.
I didn't even hear that.
I'm pretty sure
I didn't hear that.
So it was a great time.
What else did we do that we didn't talk about on the podcast? We tried to get free cookies and we were late or early technically, I guess.
Free cookies, which thing?
Well, we tried to go like there was that place at the hotel that had free cookies or whatever, but it was like only at like 11 a.m. or something.
Yeah, it was dumb. It was coffee and cookies, and they were only open at like pretty much any time that they were closed whenever other restaurants would be, or they were open when other restaurants would be closed or whatever, that kind of a thing. So it didn't pan out.
We had an efficient Target trip.
Oh, so yeah, we had 12 minutes before Target closed and had to get a bunch of stuff. So we zipped.
I don't even know if we necessarily had to. We just found stuff that was like, well, I guess I'll get that. Like there, I think like you probably had like one thing that you're like, I want to go in here for this. And then Bob
honestly,
was like,
I didn't
Bob
even
said
either.
He needed like an Echo or something, but I don't even know if
I think
he got that at Target.
He did because that was what he used.
Yeah, like that was like the reason why we went is because Bob said he needed the Echo and James needed socks. I think was the two things that were. And then
so I just got granola bars.
We're like, we're here. We might as well get something. I got freaking Welch's fruit snacks and lemonade.
I got granola bars and a smile on my face.
And then Alyssa got donuts. I remember that was a big deal.
True.
I don't know what Dan got other than Alyssa's donuts.
I don't know.
But yeah, everybody got something, and we were in and out, and we left. Dude, it was efficient. I've never been efficient, in and out indeed. Of Target that fast in my life.
True.
What else did we do that we didn't talk about?
And I don't know. We played games.
We hung out. We talked about playing games. We didn't get to play freaking any games on our personal Switches though, because we didn't bring a dock. So like with the hotel,
and honestly, by the time
literally just slept.
with the Switch, you can play it in a handheld mode and whatnot. And I was just too tired, and I was like,
do that?
Because we get back like midnight or 1 or something, and
and then we had to wake up at like 7.
Yeah.
So, which is gross, but
it was indeed. So there were a couple of games that I wanted to mention that I mentioned on the podcast, but probably won't show up in a video at any point in the future. Maybe, but possibly not. So I wanted to mention them here in any case, so everybody can get a feel for them. Number one, the Red Lantern. I mentioned this on the podcast, but it was one that I played, and it was one that was in my video of games that I'm looking forward to hearing stuff about. And I don't really know what I think of it. It's a survival game, but like sort of a survival, what's the, like story games, where you
like walking simulators?
No, the other kind where you make choices. Something novels, graphic novels, visual novels. Thank you.
Yeah, something like that.
So it's kind of like a survival visual novel sort of game, in the sense that like I expected that as you watch the trailer and there's like dogs running around and you're in a sled and doing things, I kind of expected that you'd be in charge of those things.
I remember what that game is.
Yeah. So it's that
For
game.
context, when Parker played this, I wasn't at the convention anymore. I was on a plane or on my way to being on a plane or possibly in a car on my way home.
Any of the above. Yeah, I thought that you'd be in charge of doing some of the things, and the survival aspect would also be, you know, like, because in the trailer, there's like a bear that attacks you at some point, and I figured like, oh, you'd be in charge of fending him off or whatever. And you're not. Like it's like a go left or right, and then you run into a bear. What do you want to do about this bear? It's like you can hunt him.
Do you want to throw a rock at the bear? Do you want to throw bait at the bear? Do you want to throw a pester ball?
Exactly. You got it. So so it's just a bunch of decisions, and you're trying to, like, I guess, gather resources and take care of your dogs and take care of yourself, and you just go until you die, and or until the end, probably, ideally. But with a demo, like, you only have one chance to go through it, and so you don't really learn the mechanics. And I just went, like, made a couple decisions, and then I died. And I was like, well, that was that. So I'm still curious about things about this game. If it sounds like it's for you, then cool. I don't know if it's quite for me. What I'm curious about is if it's the same every time, to where you can learn, like, okay, don't do A, B, B, A, C, D, but, like, let's try A, B, B, A, C, A, or something like that. You know, maybe it's like that, where, or you kind of have to learn each individual obstacle and, you know, in order or something like that. I really don't know. So I'll be interested to read reviews of it when it comes out for that reason. And I don't even know which one I'd rather it be, because the fact that I just died straight away, I was like, okay, whatever. So that's the Red Lantern. A little underwhelming for those kinds of reasons, but I was also tired. So maybe that had something to do with it. I don't know.
That's fair. And also, it sounds like the developers were tired too.
Yo, for sure. I like both that developer, because I mean, so we were standing in a line. There were 3 TVs kind of on the ground and little chairs in front of them. And then we were standing in line waiting for it. And the developer, like, was not looking at the line at all. He was just facing forward, looking at the backs of the heads of the 3 people playing the games. And you could tell it was like, he just was so done and did not want people to coming up and asking him questions. So I was like, I won't bother him. So I definitely could have found out more information, but I didn't feel like it. So that, that one. Some other ones that, Wonderling is one I mentioned also on the podcast. I got this little cassette tape right there. Look at that.
There it is.
Ta-da.
I don't think you showed that on the podcast.
I did not. Exclusive scoop. But
for our channel. Exclusive for our channel.
Yeah. There it is, a cassette tape. I don't have any way to play it. I was
about to say, did you play it on something?
I don't have any way to do so yet, but also the soundtrack is on Spotify, apparently. This came out yesterday, so I just downloaded. There's download code in here, and I just downloaded it on my lunch break today, but I haven't actually played it yet, other than the demo that I played over there. But the concept is interesting. And it seemed like one of those that, like, starts out kind of easy, but then gets more complicated as it goes from the little bit that I played. But the idea of it is that at the way beginning of the game, you play like the hero character for half a second, and then he goes off and then you're the main character that you play is pretty much, there's like a bad witch kind of lady who's a YouTuber kind of person in the world. So she's like always making vlogs and videos or whatever. And which is, a little bit silly, but the dialogue seemed pretty creative and fun. And she bestows life-giving power to this little guy who's pretty much a Goomba. And then all the gameplay is, it's like an auto runner kind of thing where you can just choose where you jump. And so you have to, jump over things, but then you get more abilities as you go through, and there's story things. But then I think it seems like you get to decide whether you side with the quote unquote hero at the beginning or the witch lady that gave you powers. That's sort of the bad guy.
Gotta side with the YouTuber, dude.
I mean, yeah, exactly. So I'll play it and let you guys know a little bit more how I enjoy it. But there's that one. And I don't feel like talking about any more games anymore. So that's all the ones I'll talk about right now. I'll do maybe just in the next, because I don't want to be here forever talking about those games, because we got other things to do. So maybe in the next couple of weeks, I'll revisit some of these and give impressions on them.
Yeah,
respectively, because otherwise I'm just talking forever, and I don't want to do that.
It's true.
So here we go. There's that. Hey, that's it for our news topics. But you know what? We made videos and people make comments, and we want to read those comments and talk about them.
Yep.
So
surely
do it. You made a video. It was on Animal Crossing and the fact that you got to play it. Any thoughts before we get into the comments?
I played Animal Crossing. It was a good game. This video was very easy to make, and I'm surprised that it was because, like, I mean, when we did that thing, I was like, this is going to be easy. And then, like, when I started editing it, I was like, this is not easy because, like, I'm like hunting for a story, and I was like, wait, I can just like interject. Yeah. Because like I also saw because while I was editing my video, Bob's video went up, and I was like, all right, let me watch this so I can like minimize the amount of like bleed through. Because like I thought he was going to do the video that he uploaded today. Yesterday? Yeah. I thought he was going to do that one first. But he did the Animal Crossing one, and I was like, all right, let me like do that. And I feel betrayed. Because I gave him every bit of information that was spoken in his video.
It's true. He said a lot of valuable things.
It was like after I saw that, I was like, okay, I know where to go with this, and I know like where to steer it, because like at the end of the day, like his video is about like his experience. So like the conclusion was basically like, we don't know, but my conclusion was more like, we know, but like we can know more, Yeah. And here's like the parts that what we can expect, and then also the like addendum of like what they announced outside of PAX on their like, social media and stuff like that. So I think it turned out good, and people seem to like the format. So like, if we go to more events / when, other than I guess Too Many Games, I don't know if Too Many Games is that type of convention,
or just stand around by yourself and then like have you standing being like, I think this, and then you in another shop being like, I don't know, what about this? Just fake it, Yeah. That'll work. Cool. Yeah. So here's some comments. First up, Catherine W said, I like this video, but hearing you guest discussion multiplayer. Yeah, that's what it says. But hearing you guest discussion multiplayer. I guess hearing you guys discuss multiplayer.
Yeah.
I think it's important to remember that Nintendo is a family-friendly brand, and multiplayer is a huge side of that. We are one side of their audience, the adult video game fans, but a huge side of their audience is family and children. The multiplayer is catering to that, and if you try to see it out of their eyes, you can see why they're making a big deal about multiplayer. The family and casual gamer has been a huge part of Nintendo's marketing since the Wii, and its huge success with that audience. Remember that it's not just us who will be playing these games, but children who will grow up to be us too. I think child me would have really engaged with the multiplayer aspect of what Nintendo is doing with games today.
I think you misunderstood, and maybe that is partially our fault, because I think I mentioned this on the podcast where it was like, I don't think we made it clear that we're very specifically talking about the local multiplayer experience. The game having multiplayer is great, and we're down. But how multiplayer is done locally, and I guess when you're not best friends, it's just like, what's the point of doing it? Because like even as a kid, and I think that you had to be very, very young. I'm talking like 5 and under to be okay with that experience, because otherwise you're like, well, I understand how this game works, but I'm not allowed to play it because I'm not the leader, you know. So I'm just riding your coattails the whole time. And I mean, that's all good and fine when it's like you're playing with somebody that wants to be like involved, you know, but they don't really know what they're doing. Like that's fine for that type of player. But I think the vast majority of players, even with the idea that like they make games, I wouldn't say they make them specifically for children, but they make them with children in mind. I think the vast majority of them are significantly older than that at the very least.
I think the only ways that I can, after having played the local multiplayer, the only ways that I can really envision this being used in a way that everybody's happy with it is legitimately somebody being like, either like me when I was growing up and I'd go to a friend's house and they were like, hey, let's play Spider-Man 2 on the PS2. And I'm like, I don't know how to play that. I'll just watch you play. And they're like, no, you should play it. I'm like, I really don't want to because I don't know what I'm doing. And I'm not going to have this game at home. So me learning what I'm doing isn't going to be as much fun as watching you play. So it's something like that where it's like, I guess I'll do something, you know, I'll hang around, whatever. Not that learning how to do something in this would be that complicated. So on that side, I could see that maybe somebody just being like, I guess I'll just like pits around. That's not a thing. Putts around, piddle around. I don't know. Or on the other side, it's like, I can't even really like you said, 5-year-old, having played games with 5-year-olds recently, my godson and goddaughter are 4 and 6. And even my goddaughter who's 4 and she doesn't really know how to do anything, she would be able to tell that like that person's doing that thing. And I want to do that thing. And why can't I do that? That's weird. So, I mean, like the only way I can envision that going is if you're the parents and still letting them be the leader doing whatever they want. And you're just like, I'm just here for moral support, that sort of thing. Other than that, I really don't know. Like
the only scenario that I can like put like my own like experience on is like when I was younger and my brother was like, I don't know, my brother's 4 years younger than me. I was like freaking 6, so he was like 2, about to turn 3 or something. And we were playing PlayStation 1, and like my dad always was like, you gotta let him play and blah blah.
I could see that. Yeah, that would work well.
So like we used to give him a controller that wasn't plugged in, and he's like the whole time he's like, I'm freaking kicking your butt and blah blah. And we're like, yeah, whatever, TJ. Yep, you're so good at this game. Really so like I can see that being good for that. For a kid that's like, wait, this controller's not connected to anything, you just let them do that. But
I mean, I agree, definitely, Catherine, though I agree with the premise of having multiplayer is an important kind of thing for Nintendo in general, adding that in. I think just in this one, unless there's things that we just haven't seen or don't understand about it quite yet, from what we've seen, it's not super compelling, even for families outside of kind of the situations that I was thinking.
Specifically, the local multiplayer.
Yes, right. The online multiplayer.
Online and local wireless multiplayer, dope. But the local multiplayer on the same console, kind of trash. Sorry.
Yep. Yeah. Next comment. This is from Taylor Lilliard, who said, I honestly think the local might be better with fewer people, just 2, especially if they're both familiar with the game already. It would feel like a concerted effort to succeed rather than totally disjointed. You guys also had to deal with the learning curve of new inventory systems and crafting materials, but once players are acquainted with the new game, it should be more fun.
I think that would make sense if the other player could actually do something. Like it could definitely be that if we haven't played the game in a long time and you're over and we're like playing locally and I'm like, all right, I got weeds all over the place. Help me pick my weeds. It'd be great if you can help me pick my weeds, but you can't. You just sit there and you watch me pick my weeds.
It also
walking around.
It's possible if there's like, again, kind of the limitations. There's some things that other players can do and some things they can't. So maybe there are things that local players can do that we weren't aware of or something like that too. Like a lot of the main thing, picking up things. Nope, you can't do that.
The only way that would be the case is if there was a way to set local players as friends,
which also would be very ideal.
Yeah, I don't know why they wouldn't show us that if that was a possibility.
Maybe just the only reason I can think of for that is if that would make all of you restricted to one screen and then it would like pull on either end, and that could be kind of cumbersome for, you know what I mean? But I agree that I don't think that's
like if local, okay, so I don't think that making somebody your if in this world where you can make somebody your friend or best friend locally, I don't think that means that they need to be the leader. I just think that means that they can
that's true.
engage with the world. So like the camera would still operate in the same way where it follows the leader and everybody else warps to leader. But when you're on that screen and the leader's doing something, you can help them do that thing.
For what it's worth, I do think there's probably going to be ways that you can make it. And I agree with the 2 people thing, that's probably, those are the only scenarios I can envision in the first place that would work. There's probably ways that efficient things could happen, you know, in the sense of like, if you can figure out what the limitations are of the second player and what things they can do, then maybe you can do some tasks together that would make that work better.
But the only way that I can think of that,
without having played, I don't know what those are,
efficient in any way, is if it was like, all right, let's build out the bridges and do all that stuff, right? And it's like an inventory based thing where it's like, okay, I'll have all the items in my inventory to build the stairs, and then you have the items in your inventory to build the ladders or whatever, right? So you can like switch back and forth, because I mean, we talked about how that's pretty seamless. So like if it's that and we're just swapping back and forth as the leader to like build the things, then yeah, sure. But I think that that's a very specific thing that can only be done but so many times before. It's like, all right, I did everything I needed to do in that regard.
Yeah, right. It's interesting. Next comment is from Andy, who said, I never noticed it before, but yeah, I have a hard time selling Animal Crossing to my friends and coworkers. Like, yeah, you just fish and catch bugs. Just play it. It's fun. I've been playing since GameCube, but also have played the Wii and 3DS games. Did they ever explain why the GameCube Animal Crossing characters had horns on their hat? Are we supposed to be Vikings? Is it to blend in with the animals?
Okay, so I looked this up. There's no official ruling on this, but it does seem like the general consensus is that it's to blend in with the animals. It's not a Vikings thing.
Huh. Do you always have to be wearing a hat?
In the first game, if you're a guy, I'm pretty sure you got to wear the Viking hat. I think the female villager doesn't, but I could be wrong about that.
Weird.
It is weird.
But yeah, I definitely, as being on the other side of that, Andy, I agree that it's one of those things that even now, like I've played it a little bit, and I've played other similar-ish kinds of things to where I'm like, I bet I'm just going to like it. But I just kind of have to trust people that it's just going to be fun. you know?
I think that the most effective way to communicate the value of Animal Crossing is to compare it to other things. Because it very much so is Minecraft and Stardew Valley. Like, that's what the game is. So, like, if you have an idea of, like, oh, okay, yeah, I get why that's good, then it's easier to say, like, this is why this
Which Minecraft was another one, same thing. I've talked about it before on here, but I'd only ever played the creative mode. And I was like, this kind of sucks. It's pretty like...
yeah, the creative mode's not... like, unless you're like the type of person that's like, I want to make a...
I mean, or the creative mode's fun. The creative mode's fun if you have already played the regular mode, the survival mode or whatever. It's kind of like Tony Hawk Pro Skater,
I don't know if
whatever.
You need to do that. Because, like, it could just be The Sims, where it's like, I mean, that's build X thing or whatever.
Yeah, but it's, I mean, I think for most people, it would be more fun.
Yeah.
If you've learned what your limitations are, and now you can, like, do whatever you want. Kind of like Tony Hawk 4, I think. You played the normal way, and then there's a ton of cheat codes that you could get where you were pretty much just doing whatever you want.
Yeah.
And I had it on my iBook G4 in 2004, and I played it on there. It ran at like 5 frames a second, and I didn't understand what was going on. And I played it. It wasn't really. That? It was
why?
No, it just came free on the computer, which is that's weird. Yeah, it probably actually ran at 15 frames per second. Like it was about half speed, maybe 20. I don't know. But it was pretty consistently half speed to where I played it on there, and it was like, I'm pretty good at this. And one day I played it at somebody else's house that had it on, PlayStation 2 or something. And yeah, I was not good at it. I was just playing it really slow. But you get all the cheat codes, and like, it's fun to do the cheat codes once you've already beaten the game. And like, now I can do all this crazy stuff. But if you just go straight into having the cheat codes, it's not as much fun. So that's it. That stuff. But which, I mean, similarly for this, it's like pay to win stuff's just never really fun. So like if you just got Animal Crossing, and like that's why they don't want people to cheat with it, and having, you know, probably time travel kinds of stuff in some regards, is because if you just have everything, then it's like,
did I pull
what now?
I'm trying to see if did I pull a comment. I don't know if there's comments about that or not. Yeah, no. Never mind. I thought somebody commented talking about how they wish that they didn't take out the time travel and stuff, because like then you can't progress as fast and blah blah. But I think that that's a very intentional thing, because like if you can time travel and you can do all the like little things that you can think of in your head, just off the top of your head, of like I want to do X, Y, and Z, the value is going fast. Whereas if you play it like deliberately and it's like a day by day sort of thing, you find goals easy, you know.
Right. You'll add things
you're
to
like
that
more
checklist.
Informed, exactly. Whereas like you just go in with a vague idea of like, I know what this game is, and I want to experience Christmas, and I want to see what that's like, and then I want to do the Easter stuff, and then I'm done. You know, it's like,
It's
whereas
true.
if you're playing the game and you're talking to villagers and they're like, man, I heard of this one village and they have like a gym, and you're like, what? I want to build
a gym?
Yeah,
I've just got a James.
Oh my god.
Yeah. Last comment for this, Karaya or Karia Bengali, I'm sorry if I pronounced your name wrong, I'm sure I did, said, honestly, I'm so happy that you've actually played Animal Crossing before and you know what to expect. I feel like a lot of the bigger gaming / Nintendo channels are saying that they're excited to play, but I'm wondering how they'll do with the whole not really having goals thing. Also, they're not really getting how revolutionary some of the things we've been shown in New Horizons really are. I think Minecraft is a good game to bring up too, because it's in a similar boat of outsiders wondering, why would you want to do that? And that's ironic now. Animal Crossing is an escape from real life game like Minecraft or Terraria or The Sims or Stardew Valley.
Yeah, true. And yeah, I mean, I just while we were filming that thing, I got that vibe where it's like nobody really understands this game. So it's like I was glad that I was able to provide that for both of our videos.
Indeed, this is true.
Because otherwise, we're just like, I don't know, like it just feels like it's a video, like you're watching a video to convince yourself not to buy something, and it just seems weird. It's like if you don't want to buy an Animal Crossing game, then just don't watch Animal Crossing videos.
Yeah. Yeah, and sometimes you watch videos to convince yourself to buy something, or maybe not, like Pokemon Mystery Dungeon.
Yep.
I don't know. This was. Any last thoughts though on your vid?
Nah. Can't wait to play it.
Yep.
I don't know what I'm doing next.
It'll be a fun time. Yeah, I made a video. I was curious what people's response would be to this one. I also don't know, and we can figure this out, if a couple weeks down the road we'd want to like even change the title for it, because it's only barely about Pokemon Mystery Dungeon.
I think we're fine.
Cool.
Because the whole idea of it and why it's in quotes is like to present an idea. It's like this is the idea that is the going thought right now.
Yeah.
And people got the gist of it. Like, look at the like and dislike ratio. There's
no funny
comments being like, "This is because this is just like
there's three types of comments. There were people just responding to the title and just saying like, which it could be a number of things. Like some of them were just saying like, no, it's not worth that, or yes, it is worth that, or saying like, well, that's just pretty much saying points that I made in the video, but just hadn't watched the video yet or at all. I don't know. So there was that kind. There was also people having watched the video and just saying whether or not they would be interested in specifically Pokemon Mystery Dungeon, but seeming informed about it, you know, from what I said. And then other people that had like very interesting conversation points on the topic as a whole, which was on it. Like the whole reason I wanted to make the video was for having that topic of games being worth something and whatever.
I think that it's harder to not only promote a video like that, but also to get people to have that type of conversation.
Yeah.
It's easier to like Trojan horse it and say, this is a thing that is like very much so involved with the topic of this video. And those comments kind of just prove your point, you know, like their thesis statements, and then you have the people that were going to engage with that conversation. Because like, think about it like this: if we titled that video to be like, this is a conversation about being worth whatever, or we did the whole thing where it's like we over explain the premise of the video and then like basically killed the purpose of a title on which is SEO. And if you overstuff the length of a title, it just makes everything worse. The shorter the title is, the better. If we can just like get a point across that's related, that's not going to make people mad, then that's good. But like in this scenario, if we did that and we titled it this very specific thing, the people that would have watched the video were the people that commented about that thing, right? Like it wouldn't have increased or changed the comments that people that just like made knee-jerk comments would have made. It would have just limited the video to the Grimhanes of been like, the people that want to engage with that conversation. And I think that that's just like a bad move to make.
But we did have some interesting. I tried to find some like negative comments that, because any of the negative comments were just people being like, no, it's not worth that. Kind of responding to the title. But I wanted to find people that just disagreed with me in general. And there weren't really any, at least that I've seen it so far. I'm sure there will be. But in any case,
I think that's like a popular opinion, because like
I would hope so, because it feels
as consumers you want to be able to be like, no, I think that this is worth as little money as I could possibly spend for it. Regardless of how much money you have. And I think the only time that you'll see people that have opinions that differ are people that are I mean, like me, that it's like very cognizant of like, this game costs this much and I'm aware of that and I know why they value games for what they value them as. And like it's not always this like cut and dry thing of like, oh well, they spent $3 million porting this game or whatever. It's like so much more goes into like the market value of a game and all that stuff, and it's just like way more effective to just not buy it or tell people not to buy it or whatever, than to be like, I want this game to be $20, because like that purports that. And I didn't mean to say $20 because you specifically said 20. I just threw it over him.
Oh yeah,
but no, like I think that it's just way more effective to be like, I'm not going to buy this, because like saying like I want this game to be $20 sound like you think you're owed the game,
right? Yeah,
and I don't think that that's the case. It's like either you want to buy the game or you don't, and
and exactly. And like my point towards the end about the $20 thing was exactly that, where it's like I might want to buy the game if it were less, but it's not, so I'm gonna wait until some theoretical point, and then I'll reevaluate if I want to.
Right, exactly. So, and that's what I think is like a good attitude towards it, because obviously I don't buy every Switch game,
right?
I don't think that I don't really go that far into it where I'm like trying to convince myself that if I'm not interested in a game, where it's like, well, if it was if Dragon Quest 11 was 20 or 12 or 5, or they gave me $3, maybe I'd play it.
Or they gave me $3.
I just don't want to play it. And that it's just that cut and dry for me. It's either I'm going to buy it or I'm not. And I don't really care how much it costs in that regard.
Also true.
So
let's get into some comments. Taylor Bone or Bounty maybe said, this was a great video. Thanks. Very interesting topic. I've wondered if Nintendo's pricing, if Nintendo's pricing of their games hinders sales or not, or does it create a somewhat artificial sense of value by keeping a game that's years old at $60? I thought this was a very interesting question.
Yeah, I think that I don't know. I think it's misguided to say that the thing that's artificial is the value. Because if anything, I think the thing that's artificial is to say that, oh, this game's X years old, so it's less valuable, because the game didn't degrade, just because Mario Kart 8 is 7 years old or whatever doesn't mean it's any less good than it was when it came out. So I think that whole idea is ironically the inverse of like what the thought process is, where it's like, because most developers are like, well, this game's old, i.e. it's not selling as much as it did when it first came out, so let's drop the price, rather than what people think the thought process is, which is like, this game's old, so it's not as valuable anymore, so we're dropping the price.
And really, I don't think it has to do with age. It just has to do with, like, Sony, for example, with Horizon Zero Dawn, again, being one of the examples. At some point, that game was selling less than they wanted it to sell anymore. And so they decided to drop the price to try to, as far as we can assume, based on, just trends and stuff like that.
That's definitely what it is.
Yeah. So they try to drop the price to keep sales up, and then they drop the price further to keep sales up, like that. It's a continuous trend at that point. Whereas Nintendo's philosophy is just not to do that. Their reasoning really probably is just like, no, our games can be worth $60. If people aren't buying them, more people will buy them later. Like that kind of a thing.
I think that is just as calculated. I think that they came away with a different conclusion. And I think that their sales numbers, if we look at their financial reports, support that like their games sell, and they continue to sell for a very long time. The fact that last year Mario Kart Wii sold 100,000 units at its full price, is like, it speaks volumes to that.
I think we talked about Nintendo Selects a while ago, and I think that's the ace up their sleeve, I guess, as far as like game sales go.
Right.
So that's kind of the thing. At some point they wait to do that, where it's like,
and it depends on what the game is.
Yeah.
Because there's certain games that will literally never be Nintendo Selects, like Pokemon games. You're never going to see them as Nintendo Selects.
Yeah.
And that's why. It's because they're the games that like get updated, and it's like, oh yeah, this game sold another 1 million units in the past 7 months or whatever.
Yeah. So I don't know that it creates an artificial sense of value, but I think it does make it.
I think it underscores the game's value.
Right. Yes.
The market says this game is valuable, so we're going to agree with the market. And then if the market is like with 1-2 Switch, you're like, I don't know about that. And then they're like, oh, you're right, market, and they drop the price.
I don't know. Has 1-2 Switch dropped in price? It's been $50 since launch. I mean, it goes on sale a bunch.
It's like 45 or something like that, I think, retail. Let's see what it is currently.
Amazon wouldn't be a good one to check because they do their own thing. Let's check Target. That would be, because they don't do like weird, because like Walmart's always cheap too. Pro tip now. Walmart, buy games for $10 or like 10% off at Walmart for some reason.
It might even be more than 10%.
It's actually, I think you're right, because it's like,
on Amazon it's $42.
It wasn't even 50 on the digital version is still $60.
Yeah, so it's like, I think that they definitely.
I thought it was 50 at launch. That's weird.
No. They like officially dropped the price of the game. But yeah, I think the MSRP right now is 50, and most retailers are selling it even cheaper than that. So yeah, I think that like there are instances of them being like, all right, this game's not selling as well as we wanted to, so we'll drop the price. But it's just rare, because usually their games sell better than they thought they would.
But yeah, it does. I mean, like Max tweeted something out, and I mentioned it kind of in the video of the whole, my friend wants to buy a Switch and now he wants to get all these games, and like, it's way harder to get into a backlog of Switch games right now, until a Nintendo Select happens, if it happens again, than it is to get into owning a PS4 or something like that, because it costs so much more money.
And I think that the onus isn't on Nintendo there.
No,
the onus is on literally everybody else that's still buying the games. Like, you need to take that up with them. And like, because as a business owner, I'm not going to be like, you know what? There's a couple thousand people that don't want to spend, like, they want to buy every game and they don't want to spend full price to buy every game. So I'm going to drop the price and lose the money on the people that will buy every game for $60 and not even think about it, because that's how much games cost in their mind. So it's like, I don't know.
I think it's funny too, because people saying, like, someone could say, and it's true, the whole speak with your wallet thing. But at the same time, when something is so big that like Pokemon or whatever, if you wanted to boycott Pokemon, there's still 16 million people that aren't boycotting Pokemon. So speaking with your wallet kind of doesn't do anything at that point.
Yeah,
but it's because like that's the only way to do it. At the same time,
it's the whole thing. It's like voting.
Yeah, right.
And not to like, I mean, that's super topical right now, but that's what it is. It's like if everybody thought like that, where it's like, oh, my vote.
I don't. Why?
Vote
What are people voting for right now?
You know.
I'm joking.
The next
voting for E3 to happen.
The next monarch for the Mushroom Kingdom, because Peach ain't cutting it. You know.
Yeah. He's off traveling all the time.
Yeah, what's she gonna do? And just playing with Mario and Bowser's emotions. But yeah, like it's that whole thing. It's like, yes, one specific person boycotting Pokemon is not going to do anything. But if the thousands, if not honestly millions of people that are complaining about Pokemon, and by millions, probably like at most 2 million people on the internet be like, oh, I freaking hate Pokemon. If 2 million people drop Pokemon and stop buying it, that would be very notable. If Pokemon Sword and Shield sold 2 million less units than even Let's Go or whatever, like what other Pokemon game, X and Y, Sun and Moon, whatever, they would take notice of that. It doesn't have to be, again, a commercial failure for them to be like, oh, okay, let's reevaluate.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, I don't. I think that's a cop out for like wanting to complain on the internet and not really, you know, face consequences for it. And by consequences, I mean complain about this thing and say, I'm not going to buy this for the clout, and then you buy it anyway. You know, like stand your ground, dude. If it's really not worth your money, don't spend your money, because nobody's forcing you to, but you.
It's true. Next comment. This is from Mega Man. What's up, Mega Man? Said, great video, Parker, and very thought-provoking. Thanks. I love this question you posed at the beginning. Is this game worth your $60, or in my case, $80? Because he's in New Zealand, and that's money. This is this is my answer to that question. I think every game has its worth to you as a consumer. You raised all the valid points around this. When Link's Awakening came out, a lot of people were screaming out how it wasn't a $60 game, and there were frame rate issues, blah, blah, blah. To me as a consumer, it wasn't a game that I saw and I was like, oh my goodness, I want that right now. As one, I never played the Game Boy. And two, it didn't seem like a game I would have enjoyed, so I didn't spend my money on that game. However, after watching gameplay and reviews on it, I would like to play it at some point, but I'll buy it when I can feel like I can justify the price of it on sale. For Pokemon Mystery Dungeon, I was so glad I got to play the demo, because I have heard so many good things about the game from people who've played it in the past and was so excited to try it. And when I did try it, I hated it. Wasn't for me, so I won't spend my money on that game. Now, Breath of the Wild, I did pay the full price for 1.5 years after release on Switch, and by God, it was worth every single dollar I spent on that game. The open world, exploring, the story, the annoying and frustrating mechanics made me want to play more and more, and I still play it to this day. It was worth paying the full price for. Those are just 3 examples of games that are and are not worth their prices to me as a consumer. The list could go on and on. For the people who love to sit and complain about the cost of games, just don't buy them at full price. Simple. Buy it at a price that you feel you can justify, and then you'll be happy. Last but not least, love your work, guys. Oh my God, just send a novel. Am I now Grimhain? Yes.
I mean, I don't think Grimhain did. So
he didn't. So there you go. You're filling it.
He took his spot.
But no, I really enjoyed that comment.
But yeah, I completely agree with this, and I think that's the long and short of it. Because it's like I don't own every Switch game, so there's obviously games that I think to myself, that's not worth the money for me. But you're not going to see me tweet X game is not worth, or make a video X game is not worth 60. I'm never going to do that. You will literally ever see me say X game is not worth blank. Right. Yeah. I may say, like in the case of Kirby, where it's like I feel like they should do better with Kirby as a franchise and blah blah. It's not really about the money. It's more so about the franchise and like what they could do.
And like I think even slightly different verbiage, but saying a similar thing that appeals to the same emotion is, instead of saying like, I don't know, say some indie game that is priced at, I don't know, Monster Boy, for example, was $40 when it came out, which I felt was a little bit steep for that. And so I don't think it's a question of that game's not worth $40. I actually didn't play it, but I've heard a ton of great things about it. But I think
Dan and only Dan.
Right. But I think it is valid to say that I feel that game is priced high for how it's going to sell. You know what I mean? Where like I just knowing the market, I've got a feeling like it's not going to sell as well as they would like it to at that price point, that kind of a thing. But it's like, but cool, if it does, that's awesome. Like, I'm not complaining about it being that price, but I'm saying like doesn't feel to me like the most effective price point for that game. And the same happened with like when Cadence of Hyrule came out, people I feel like were like $25, that should be a $15 game, which is like whatever.
Like,
it sold great.
What even I don't even get that. Like when it's that much of a like if it's $10,
mm-hmm.
Let me remind you that I spent $30 on 6 chicken nuggets or chicken tenders. You know, like when it becomes a thing of like, this game $60 is an outrage. I want it to be $50. It's like, what? Like you would think that the game was priced at like 4 times its value with how people complain about this thing. And it's like it's $10 more than I would pay for it. This is outrageous. It's like, oh, I mean, it's $10 whole, dude. What will you ever do?
Yeah, it's which brings us kind of this next comment too. This is from the Duper, who short comment just says the fact that Wii U ports and remakes are $60 when Crash and Spyro recent titles are $40 is the problem. Which kind of, I don't know that's really comparable in some regards, because it's I think it does go back to, I mean, sort of what we were saying, just as far as like just different companies decide to price things at different price. Best example is the PlayStation Mini Classic, PlayStation Classic. Yeah, they priced it at $100, and that was just too high for the market.
Big old nope.
Yeah, but that said, like, I could see the same thing being $100 and being worth it if it were better, just had like better games on it or something like that. But at the moment, it's just like not enough people agreed with that price point, so they had to change the price point. And ironically, like they had to bring it down, and they had to bring it down to like $25 before a lot of people would buy it. But I feel like, just complete guess, if they had launched it at $60, way more people, even though they didn't like it that much, would have been like, yeah, $60, whatever, I'll give it a try. Just because buying something when it comes out is actually like, that's, you know, a big deal. Whereas something going on sale that deep, it makes you feel like, it's not worth it, or something along those lines. Like it gives the wrong message. So that's one of those things, you know, it's companies just go with what they, you know, what they know, or what
and also there's things that are not intrinsic value.
Yeah,
like
right.
Like Crash Bandicoot is not worth as much as Mario. So a Mario Wii U port is going to be worth more than a Crash Bandicoot game. Sorry.
Yeah, I mean, I think in terms of that too, again, value, and Kickstarter goes to show this. Even when you say it's not worth as much as Mario, that's the general populace doesn't agree that it's worth that they would pay as much money for this thing. Because like with a Kickstarter, you'll see with Wonderful 101, people wanted to pay $1,000 for a Wonderful 101 game, pretty much. I mean, like obviously there's lots and lots of knickknacks and benefits from doing that, but in essence, they're paying $1,000 because they want this game to come, which is like a lot of money. But I think that's the thing, is like, enough people have to agree with the value of the thing being at whatever price point you set, for it to make market sense. And Nintendo's found that like $60 makes market sense most of the time. It is interesting to me the times that they have the games be like Sushi Striker and Captain Toad. And I think there's other examples. Like, why is Captain Toad only cost $40?
Maybe they didn't think he was marketable enough.
Yeah. That's interesting to me, just in general, you know, like maybe I really don't know, you know.
And you'd have to figure they run a lot of market tests of being like, what would you pay for this game?
Right.
You know?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, and also that it does factor into reviews as well to some degree, you know, like not like a ton, but
they do mock reviews. Like they do reviews of like, they hire journalists review their game before the journalists that are like with the IGNs and all that.
Right. Yeah.
And then they all review the game and say, "Oh, I think this will get X on Metacritic," and then that'll decide like, okay, we know what our embargoes are going to be, and we're going to send it out to this many outlets and blah blah blah.
Yep.
So
That's interesting stuff. And then the last comment is from Alec, who said, Alex, a regular. Hello, Alec. Who said, I think a sliding scale would be way worse for most consumers. If games that take developers more resources to make / take more time for consumers to finish were put on this sliding scale, I would assume they would cost more than the average quote unquote game. Breath of the Wild or Fire Emblem Three Houses would be $80 to $100. Actually, 80 is about what they cost with DLC right now. So I don't know. I tend to mostly play sprawling RPGs, so I would definitely be out more money in this hypothetical. Overall, I don't think this will happen for the same reason the most blockbuster movies aren't rated R. As someone selling something, you don't want to narrow your pool of consumers, and by pricing something above the standard, that's exactly what they'd be doing. The reverse also works. Nintendo isn't going to bring Super Mario Bros. U over at less than $60 because it'll undercut the sales of other Mario games. I know the money all makes it back to them in the end, but they don't want to cannibalize the sales of Mario Odyssey in the process. Real world example, I love Final Fantasy VII. I played the remake demo and I thought it was great. I've purchased original Final Fantasy VII at least 4 times at this point. When you add it up, about $100. I'm so excited for Final Fantasy VII Remake, and I'm 100% going to buy and spend a large portion of April playing it. But I've been waffling over buying the standard edition at $60 or the deluxe edition with more stuff at $80. That extra $20 is going to get me stuff I know I'll like, but I'm not sure if it's worth the game being $80. So yeah, I'm for this standard pricing and very for waiting for sales on things. I have so many RPGs to finish. This was a long, rambly comment, probably in need of editing, but I'm not going to do that. Great video, Parker.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I think that hypothetical is more like an illustration than like an actual thing that we think would happen. Whereas like, I think the argument is just like, it sounds good in your head to be like, this game isn't worth as much as Breath of the Wild. And of course you're not going to be like, well, that also means that Breath of the Wild is
right, yeah.
Right? Like, it's like that whole thing of like kids telling on like their sibling or like what their teacher did or whatever. Like, I think some kids like me, like whenever I got in trouble in school, I would call my mom in the principal's office and be like, I did this, but the teacher did this. You know? But most kids are going to be like, the teacher did this. And it's like, what did you do? And it's like, I didn't do anything. The teacher just being mean to me, dude. The teacher just doesn't like me, man. Most people are going to be in that camp where they're like, I think Mario Odyssey is worth $60, but New Super Mario Bros. U is worth $30. And I won't pay a cent more for it or whatever, right?
Yeah.
They won't even think about paying more than 60.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, exactly. Like, I think it's a standard or it's a free-for-all, and a free-for-all isn't better for barely anybody, you know, because like ultimately companies are going to want to, like, they're not pro-consumer in the way that we want them to be because they're companies and they are trying to make money. So like, we love the companies that we love and that's great. But like at the same time, they're more often than not will probably end up feeling just a little bit gypped, you know, like the ones that, and maybe not by some of the ones that do feel more pro-consumer, but definitely other ones will get way out of hand, you know, and charge like this one is $80 in a time where it's like, but I don't understand why it's $80. I'm like, well, it just is. It needs it.
But also because of the way things work, and I think this industry on the whole, outside of Nintendo, just likes having standards. Even if they're not like forced on them, they like having a standard. So either every game that comes out is going to be that sprawling $100 game, or every game is going to be like that smaller $40 game. And I don't think that that's a world we want to live in either.
Yeah, right. So good comments, everybody. It was a great old time. There were a bunch of good comments that I didn't pull either, but they were good. It's a video I've been wanting to make for a while. I'm glad I did it. And here we go. What a fun time.
And it's doing pretty good. It's
nice.
It's up there with every other non-Animal Crossing video.
Fun times.
You should have made a video. You should have like pinned it around Animal Crossing. You should have like, it's Animal Crossing for $60, and then got all the angry comments from the Animal Crossing people.
You're not wrong.
Would it get a lot better?
Mystery Dungeon, SEO wise, is definitely going to die out. Man, everybody just knows how we do things now. Again, like for me, a lot of times I just have thoughts that it's like, it would be interesting to make this video. And so the topic ends up just being kind of a way to talk about those things that I feel like would be interesting for all of us to talk about.
Yeah, but also I still disagree that Mystery Dungeon's SEO is going to die out, because like before Mystery Dungeon, Yeah, exactly. But and before they even announced anything about Mystery Dungeon, I did a video about Mystery Dungeon, and it was like one of our best performing videos in the last like 3 months prior to me making that video. So I think that video will be fine.
Yep. All right, but speaking of not that, let's talk. Yep. We got questions, question and answer. This is the last segment of the podcast, and we have a good old time. Hey, before we get into this, you should review the podcast. I forget to say that all the time.
That's true.
But you should
but you guys go on iTunes or Spotify or whatever. Can you review podcasts on Spotify? I don't think so. I don't know. All the services that let you click a star number, give us
like all the stars.
Give us 5, dude. Give us a high 5, dude. And tell people why you like the podcast if you like the podcast.
Yeah.
I'd assume you want, especially if you're listening to this part right now. You definitely like the podcast if you're still listening to us talk. I don't even know how far in, like 2 hours in or whatever. Definitely like the
Just
podcast.
about, almost.
So let people know. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thanks so much. All right, Q&A. Here we go. First questions from Discord. This is from Grimhane. He's got a whole bunch on here. Thanks, Grimhane. Please rank Bob's intimidation level on a scale from 1 to 10, 10 being the highest.
I give Bob a solid 3.5 because, like, I mean, he's a relatively tall man.
He is a tall man.
I think people exaggerate how tall. I don't think he's that tall. Like, he's not like Rhett tall, you know, like
he was also wearing boots the first day, and I don't know how much taller those made him, but he's very like, lanky too.
He's like 6'1". He's like around there, and that's like okay, you know.
He feels taller than that to me because my dad's 6 foot, and he felt taller than my dad. But again, it might have been the boots. So
it's probably.
But go on, yes.
But yeah, no, I think that most of the 3 is not even his height. It's just because he has the rest in B face, where he just looks mad all the time.
I'd say
for the most part, Bob's like real, like contrary to like how you see him in videos, he's like real reserved and like quiet, you know.
Yeah, honestly, like I would have expected a 6. And probably in reality was a 4, but that made it feel like a 3, where it's like, oh,
it's like it's intimidating.
Yeah. So it's like, oh, look at that. Yeah, I had a great time hanging out with Bob. He might have had a terrible time hanging out with me, but he put on a great face if that was the case. No, he's a real sweet guy. But it is funny because I was imagining. It's just funny the dynamics in general.
Yeah, you mentioned that to me before. I don't know if it was like on the podcast, but you're like, I don't know, man. It'll be a wild card. Like how?
Honestly, here's the thing too. Beforehand, I expected, for whatever reason, that I didn't know I guess I knew James was going to be there, but didn't like know specifically. I assumed you probably would have been hanging out with Bob a lot more, which meant I was like, oh, I'm glad Dan's here so that I could have somebody to tag back.
Oh, you thought I was just going to be like abandoning you?
Not like abandoning, but like, you know, just like hanging out with Bob because you guys know each other IRL and stuff. And that was not the case. You and I hung out a lot and it was a grand old time. So it was fun.
I wouldn't.
You nice. But yeah, so probably a 3-ish, something around there.
Yeah, you and James got along really well.
Man, James is
not necessarily surprised by that, but I was like, oh, that's neat. Like, I didn't even consider how you guys' dynamic.
Yeah. He opens up like, because the first day we talked a bunch and it was like, fun.
Like, I saw you guys were talking when we were streaming.
But yeah, just over time, the rest of the time, it was just, he's a hoot. Hopefully, I'm sure James doesn't listen to this podcast, but I hope he knows that I think he's a hoot. Next up, what game most surprised you at PAX? I feel like I got 2 answers in both directions. Okay, so in a negative way, the Red Lantern a little bit. That I was just kind of disappointed is a strong word because like I was mostly curious about it and now I'm like about it. So I was just surprised at kind of what it was in some regards, but whatever. That's that. I already talked about that. But Fogs is the other one that definitely surprised me in the positive way. Watch Bob's video probably that went up today to get like a really good impression of what we all think about it. But that was the one that surprised me the most because I thought it was going to be a kind of neutral to like kind of interesting game, and it ended up being real cool.
Yeah, I don't think I was surprised really by anything because like I kind of the games that I played, I expected what I expected from them, and that's what happened. You know, like, and I kind of made it a point to not like play a whole bunch of stuff because I knew I wasn't going to talk about it. So it was like, why wait in line and like do like, take space from other people and do all that? Because I'm not going to make a video about them. So like in that regard, I wasn't really surprised by anything. Fogs, I knew I was gonna like when me and Bob saw it in the direct and we're like, okay, yeah, this is definitely a stream game. And it did not disappoint.
Nope.
Have at least one stupid, hilarious stream of that game. It would be great.
It will. Also, Fall Guys was cool, but that won't be a...
I had no expectations for that game because I didn't know it existed.
Yeah, there were a whole bunch that were like that. Like most of the rest of them I didn't know existed. The Yacht Club games were pretty much exactly what I thought they were going to be in terms of like, not mechanics. Like I didn't know 100% mechanics-wise what they were going to be, but I was like, these will be well refined and like well-built games, and they were. So not a huge surprise, but and Animal Crossing was about what I expected as well. So next question. I doubt AJ has anything for us because watching stuff, what is that? But what have you watched? Anything good recently?
I watched Dragon Ball Z Bridged again.
Yeah, look at that.
But kinda like a little bit.
A little bit.
And by a little bit, I mean I literally was watching it earlier today, and that's it.
And that's it. Yeah, man, I've been watching a bunch of stuff here or there. I think I mentioned Lock and Key on here at one point. That's a new Netflix. It's a new Netflix show. It had 10 episodes. We finished them. They were good. They were fun. Will mentioned it. It was a graphic novel or a comic book or something like that. And apparently compared to that, it's like not that great or something, but I thought it was good. It was well done. So I had a good time. That one, also new Netflix one that we watched and we were kind of like, about, was, oh man, I'm Not Okay With This. I think that was what it was called. It's 7 episodes and it feels like it should be a 40-minute type show, but they're only like 20-minute episodes, which is like a little bit odd because again, like if it has the feel it should be a longer one. And it was not that great. It was an interesting premise. Like it's kind of one of those like normal person has superpowers, but they're quirky and like it's kind of dark and that kind of thing. But the actress that plays the main girl, I just didn't think did a really good job. Like I think she's overplaying the really awkward high schooler kind of thing. And that's a thing. But otherwise, yeah, regular stuff. Brooklyn Nine-Nine, picking back up on that. Just watched the first 2 episodes of the new season yesterday. And then regular ones. Slowly working through Full Metal, and et cetera, et cetera. Yeah. My Hero and whatnot. New My Hero tomorrow.
I need to catch up on that again.
And speaking of TV shows, he asks, will you watch the Last of Us series when HBO releases it?
I don't have HBO, but like I feel like that's going to be one of those things that like, you know, like The Mandalorian, like one of the rare things that I'm like, all right, this is enough in the zeitgeist where I feel like I have to watch it. So possibly.
I haven't played any of the games.
Gotta rob somebody for their HBO.
So yeah, I mean, I'll be doing that with Mitch has HBO, so I'll probably just use his. You can also, I think, get like a 30-day free trial. So if you just wait for it to be done, but at that point it would be out of the zeitgeist.
Exactly.
So I'll probably borrow Mitch's and watch it for the same reasons. But yeah, I don't know. I haven't, you know.
Never even played the game.
Never even played the game. So I know nothing. Next question from Duncan.
It would just be a generic zombie show for you. It'd just be The Walking Dead.
Pretty much, yeah. Duncan says, when the PS9 inevitably comes along in 2049, what will it look like?
What if it does come out in 2049?
Oh, he says, will it look like this? And there was a picture that had an orb that said PS9 in it. And will my dream of Nintendo ever making something atomic purple again come true before that happens?
I'm sure they have like atomic purple pencil boxes or something. Nintendo New York.
Mm-hmm. Atomic purple future brainwaves is what they got.
I wonder if they got atomic purple Dippin' Dots.
Oh my goodness. Ice cream of the future. Mega Man asks, what was your favorite place to eat in Boston? Hashtag Fanatics Foods.
I mean, probably the food court. The Millennial Food Court.
Mm-hmm. It was good. I really liked also what I got at the first place that we went, whatever that was called.
The first place that we went.
First night before Target, it was the one with the grilled cheeses that didn't have cheese.
Oh, the freaking fake grilled cheese.
Yeah.
That was Copperhead or something.
Oh yeah. That sounds about right. I got buffalo chicken mac and cheese, and it had gorgonzola and buffalo chicken in it and stuff. And it looked like it wasn't going to be a lot of food, but then I ate it and I was very full. So it was real good.
I had the freaking pulled pork mac and cheese or whatever.
And you got the grilled cheese, wasn't it?
Grilled cheese, and it was stupid because it was dumb. It was just a freaking melt, dude. Mm-hmm. And that was false advertisement. It should have way more cheese. It should have did the Kraft cheese.
2 out of 2, not enough cheese.
Thing. Exactly. Me and Alyssa were very upset. But she was less upset. She was like, it is grilled cheese, and I was like, no, it's not. It's not. And then I did the Kraft cheese thing, and everybody was like, yeah, except for Alyssa. Alyssa was like, it's grilled cheese. It's like,
nah. And then next Mega Man question: does absinthe really make the heart grow fonder? Does absinthe really make the heart grow fonder? Alcohol. Am I right? Yes. Because I was very excited to see my wife and my puppies when I got back, and they were very excited to see me. So, checks out.
That's fair. Depends on who it is, man.
Yeah, for sure. Some people, it's like, ooh, so glad I don't have to see them.
Yeah, exactly.
The way James feels about me.
Probably.
Just kidding. He loves me so much. Next Grimhane question. What's the sound of one hand clapping? Can you hear that? I got it. 20 hours later. That's it. Now you got it. Favorite breed of dog? And if you say no dog, you're canceled.
Siberian Husky.
Yeah, that's up there.
Or Akita, they're cool too.
I love my dogs. I wouldn't necessarily say that a Maltipoo or a Golden Retriever are my favorite breeds of dogs. They're just my 2 favorite dogs. But like, if it was just, whatever. Yeah, Huskies are real cool. I was going to say that, or like German Shepherds can be real neat.
I kind of want.
I know. One day, here's a fun story. We were living with our friends. It was before we moved into this house. I was going out for a walk, I guess. I don't know. It seems weird for me, but whatever. I was going out for a walk, walking around the neighborhood, and at some point just kind of looked a little bit in my peripheral and saw that there was what seemed like a wolf walking behind me. And I was like, that's kind of scary. I'm going to keep walking, facing ahead. And so like I kept walking, and then I like would stop a little bit and kind of look behind me just a bit, and then it was there and it would also stop. And I looked, and I finally like actually turned around, and it was a big old Siberian Husky. And I was like, I don't know if this is going to be a nice one or not a nice one. So I'm just going to keep moseying.
I don't think I ever met a not nice Siberian Husky, but I'm sure that they
include, right. Yeah. I mean, cause like German Shepherds, it's that kind of thing where like they can be super, super nice, but if you train them to be mean, they can be really mean too. Yeah. Which is why like probably rescuing a German Shepherd would be hard because most likely they were raised in not a great environment, which sucks. But yeah, so I walked back to the house, and our friends have 2 dogs. They're German Shepherd mutts, like German Shepherd lab boxer kind of mix. And they were out in the yard, and I'd like pet this dog, and he seemed nice. And I was like, oh, cool. So I pet him and stuff. And I was like, all right, well, I got to go back to the house. Went back to the house and just like walked in the fence where the 2 dogs were. And they did not like the fact that the Siberian Husky was out there, and they just barked at it for like super loud, a ton, really mad that it was at their house. And he just sat there like, oh, wow, okay. And it was just a great moment. I was like, all right, well, I'm going to go inside, but you guys have fun. I'll see you later, Husky dog. And I never saw him again.
Did you see, well, you probably didn't see it, but you know who Brad and Link are. We established.
Yeah.
And they have vlogs, and one of their vlogs, because like what they do for their vlogs is like kind of like what we do for videos, where it's like, I want to talk about X instead of being like, I'm going to document my day or whatever. They're like, we're specifically doing this thing, and that's what the vlog's about.
Nice.
They were introducing their dogs to a cat for the first time.
I really want to see what happens if I introduce my
okay.
Cat.
I thought you were talking about them, but I was like, okay, I won't spoil it. But Rat specifically, like his whole thing is that he doesn't like cats. Like he freaking hates cats. So, and Link is like indifferent. Like he's like, I'm a dog person, but like cats, they exist, I guess. And I mean that it checked out for the dogs. Like Link's dog was just like kind of interested in the cat. Like the cat was a dog sort of thing, like sniffing his butt and stuff. And Red's dog was just not having it, dude. Like Red's dog was like, get this demon out of my house.
That's really funny.
It was like freaking out, and they had to like take the dog out of the room. Man. And then Red was like, you know my dog. My dog has never done this before. He knows that this cat is the spawn of Satan. And then he brought the dog back in there, and it was still freaking out. So it's like, yep, okay.
There you go.
Confirmed. This dog hates cats.
We introduced my parents' cat to, well, my friend James in high school was on the tram in Brussels, and like some lady was just like, hey, I've got these 2 kittens, but I can't take care of them. Will you take them? And he's like, yeah, sure, man. So he took these 2 kittens, and then like he was staying at my house for a couple of days at that point. And so he was like, well, I guess we'll just have him here. And we were like, let's see what happens if we introduce them to my cat. Cause they're little kittens and my cat's a grown up. So like, seems like they'd get along well. Cause she noticed like they're kittens. I'll take care of them. That'll be fun. 100% no, not at all. She was so mad at their existence and was like hissing at them and like all sorts of stuff. And they were just like, we're just kittens. What do we know? And that's not like her personality, but yeah, apparently, but like dogs, a dog with a puppy dog would be like, what's up, man? Let's have some fun. So cats and dogs are different. I like them both, but there you go. Duncan said,
I can take or leave a cat. I can take it or leave it.
You could take it to your house or leave it at your house?
Take it or leave it. Preferably leave it. Most cats, because cats are kind of jerks, man.
It depends on the cat. And I feel like they have like more one-on-one connections as opposed to like dogs where it's like, you know, anybody that comes over my house.
Anybody.
Yeah, exactly. Or don't like anybody, I guess is also a possibility if they're trained poorly or like, you know, that kind of thing. But Duncan says, what emoji should Chicapo craft for the server?
I don't know. Whatever emojis you guys want.
Something with Lucky Charms.
No. Vetoed.
Lucky Charms.
Charms freaking suck.
I don't know. Something with Lucky Charms. It's definitely not my favorite cereal by any stretch of the imagination, but it was the first thing that came on. So there you go.
All right. Make a like the hop emoji. Make one of those, but for Lucky Charms.
There you go.
There you go.
And then last question from Discord is from Jake Oppo, who said, should we expect more when should we expect more Parker Deal music? I don't know, man. Sometime.
Why the whole government name, man? Why not just Parker music?
Because it is what it is. I don't know. I don't make the rules. So sometime it'll happen eventually. Twitter questions, but good question. Thank you for asking it. I appreciate that you care. Twitter questions. Max says, what's the worst new Switch game you played at PAX?
Wonderful 101. I just want to trigger Max.
I know. Yeah, man. I don't know. I mean, I might have to give it to the Red Lantern. I'm sorry.
I thought you were going to say Wonderful 101.
No. I played Wonderful 101 though, and it was a time. I was kind of confused what I was doing.
But yeah, I wanted to trigger Max.
Yep. Then last questions from the Devilman's Crybaby, Japanese Ogre said, what are you most excited to make in Animal Crossing?
Whatever facilities that we don't know about.
True. I don't even know, honestly. I
want to make Brewster's Cafe, dude. So I can never drink coffee, even in the game.
I want to make a music venue that I guess there's a that.
I mean, I'd assume you might be able. Yeah, you might be able to like freaking book KK sliders or something.
And then I also want to make a harpsichord. There you go.
I don't know if you'll be able to.
Nailed it.
I don't know. It might be too specific.
Nope. Gonna make a harpsichord. I'm gonna just make a chair and call it harpsichord. It'll work. And the last question. Also, have you guys heard about the new Cookie Mama game? And what do you think?
Yes. Also, I want to play it with Bob.
Really? Okay. I don't know. I've heard that it exists, and that's it.
We mentioned Cookie Mama a while ago. Oh, because we were doing like video game 20 questions. On one of the Astro Chain stream because we're like this game.
20 questions is fun. Ashley and I played a lot.
Video game 20 questions. And one of the games was Cooking Mama, and I was like, yeah, like this is like definitely a game that we would play and like have a stupid stream. That's hilarious.
I don't even know enough about it to know enough about it. So
yeah, it's a cooking game, like a mini game sort of deal, you know.
Yep.
You know.
Cool. There you go. Yeah, I mean, I've heard the name, and that's about the long and short of it. And people being like, "Whoa, Cookie Mama, Cookie Mama, Cookie Mama." So
there's also Babysitting Mama. I don't know anything about that game though.
Same, easily same. But I do know that this is the end of the podcast for today. We did it.
We did it.
Good job, everybody.
We have returned from PAX and we're back, and now the podcast is ours forever, and you'll never see anybody else on it until next. We're either Alex or possibly Luis. I don't know, whichever one's available. Maybe both. I don't know.
There you go.
I had to figure it out. But somebody's coming on next week. See you then. Dude.
See you then. Bye.
Goodbye.
Bye.